Welcome to the Genealogy Seminar Part 1, brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. The Genealogy Seminar is an interesting project. It started off for me as a simple tech help video. These are usually short videos that answer questions sent in by my students. I generally record a free 5 to 10 minute video and post it on my website and on YouTube. Then following the free video, I post an extended cut for members only. The extended cut will have a couple of additional features that I'll add to the video. Well, I finished the extended cut and I was having so much fun with it that I kept going for about 7 more hours. So that is what you have here as the Genealogy Seminar Part 1. So you will hear me in the videos referring to it being a tech help video or a members only extended cut. And then somewhere after that I realized, oh well, this is going to be a full seminar. So let's see what's covered in this full seminar. Lesson 1 is a free tech help video that I posted on YouTube and on my website. It covers the basics of how to set up the table, the self-join relationships, and the forms we need for tracking our people. We will start off by learning about the different kinds of relationships like one-to-many, and then many-to-many. And then we'll learn about self-joins, which are a special type of many-to-many relationship to relate people to other people, basically the table to itself. So we'll start out building our tables and filling them up with some sample data, of course. We'll set up a basic person form where we can put the person's information in, their first name, last name, gender, and then pick their mother and father, which are other people from the table. Then we'll set up a subform so we can track the person's children underneath. So up top you've got the person's mother and father, and then down below you've got all of his children. Lesson 2 is the extended cut members only edition. This is generally only available for silver members and up on my YouTube channel, but it's lesson 2 of the seminar. We'll start off by making the mother and father and the child ID clickable, which means you can double click on those to jump to that person. So for example here, I could double click on the mother, Sue Smith, and open up her record. We'll add the mother and father to the subform and have it default to the current person based on the gender. So if the current person is male and you add a child, it'll put that person in as a father if you add a child record. Then we'll make a quick add person form and we'll put little plus buttons next to everybody. So if you want to quickly add a mother or father or a child record, you can click on the plus button. It'll open up the little person add form. You can type them in real quick and then they'll be added directly to the information. Then we'll make our own delete button. We're going to set the main form so you can't delete records, and we're going to provide our own delete button. This is because we don't want people to be able to delete records that have children. You have to delete the child records first, then delete the individual person. Then after recording the extended cut for the Tech Help members, something weird happened. I started having fun with this project. So, thus was born the Genealogy Seminar Part 1. In Lesson 3, we start building the ancestor form, or what I like to call is the family tree form. And I'll show you how to build it step by step. In Lesson 4, we'll use some conditional formatting to change the color of the gender combo box to either blue or pink. You can see it in action right there. We'll add birth date and death date to each person. Then we'll add a function to calculate that person's age. If they're not dead yet, it'll give you their current age, and if they do have a death date, it'll calculate their age at death. In Lesson 5, I'll show you how to add attachments to your database so you can store pictures and other documents. And then we'll add profile pictures to each of our people. I'll teach you how to browse and select files on your hard drive, and then store them right in your database. You'll also see how to store text files, documents, PDFs, and all kinds of other information directly in your database. And then, of course, we'll add those pictures to our family tree form. Then we'll make the ancestors clickable so we can double click on one of those ancestors and jump right to their record and see who their ancestors are so we can travel up the ancestor tree. In Lesson 6, we'll add an unknown gender because in doing my genealogy research, sometimes you find that you find an ancestor and you're not sure what their gender is. So rather than default it to male or female, if you find Chris Watkins from 1642, you might not know if Chris is a male or a female. Next, we'll add a life event table so we can track different life events for each person, such as their birth, their death, marriages, name changes, and so on. And of course, we'll add a nice pretty form for that as well. You can also store location information, a description, notes, documents, and of course, link marriages to another person so you can track spouses. And then we'll figure out how to track age at each one of those life events. So we'll know how old they were when they died, how old they were when they got married, and so on. In Lesson 7, we'll make our Life Events button on the main person form show how many life events that they have in the system. Next, we'll add children in a list box on the family tree form. This now allows us to navigate up the family tree by clicking on Ancestors or down the family tree by clicking on Children. It's very difficult to expand children in a tree view like that because we don't know how many children each person might have. So by putting children in a list box, there could be 2, there could be 200. You know going up the tree how many ancestors people had, right? Each person has a mother and a father, but going down, you can't quite tell. I could start down here on Sally, double-click on Joe to go up to Joe's record, double-click on Biff to go up to Biff, and then go back down the tree. See that? Next, I will show you a better way to store your pictures. Instead of storing them inside the database, we'll create a folder to put all of our pictures in and reference them from inside the database. That makes your database smaller and faster. And if your database gets very, very large, it won't get slow. We'll create a button to select the picture. That button will open up a Windows dialog box and let you browse through your files to pick the correct picture. And then our database will automatically move that picture to a folder for that person in your file system. And this is how your database will keep your pictures organized for you. All of your people will be stored in their own individual person data folders. And later, if we add PDF files or other kinds of documents, they'll go right in that person's folder. And then we'll link that picture right into the database just like the attachment picture was. Only this time, it's an external file. In Lesson 10, we'll start building a person list form so we can quickly see all the people in our database. We'll make these people clickable so we can open up their individual person records. We'll add search boxes so we can filter our list based on different criteria, such as name or gender. And then we'll add different sort options as well. And then we'll add birth dates and death dates to it. And then, of course, what database isn't complete without a main menu to start with? This menu will get a lot bigger in Part 2 when we add more features like reporting. Next, we'll add in some code so someone cannot accidentally be selected as their own parent or child. Next, we'll add some code to make sure these little dialog boxes pop up directly over the form that opens them. If I move this form over here and click the button, now it's centered over that form. We'll add some code to hide all these buttons if you go to a blank record. Can't add life events for someone who doesn't exist yet, right? We'll make our delete button friendlier. We'll put the name in the delete button. If you click on a person with children, it'll give you a warning message. Can't delete someone who's got children. Please delete the children first. Or if you try to delete someone who doesn't have children, it gives you a more friendly warning message. We'll add some little enhancements. For example, we'll only show that extra person combo box if you click on something like marriage, where you can link it to another person. If you click on birth, you don't see that. And you can select in the table which ones of these events you can link to another person. For example, you may want to link job to another person if they're working with someone, for example. And once you have these people set up, you can double-click on this person to open up the spouse's record. So that's a pretty comprehensive walkthrough of the genealogy database at the end of Part 1. I've got lots more planned for Part 2 and beyond. Here's a list of ideas I've got coming up for Part 2. The ability to import and export data. This is handy if you want to keep 2 completely different sets of families. Additional names like middle name, suffixes, and so on. I wanted to keep Part 1 simple for the sake of building the database. Complete contact info and a contact history. Part of the reason for tracking genealogy is to find relatives you might not know existed. And if you find them and they're still alive, you might want to save their email address, phone number, current address, and so on. A lot of genealogy databases I've found have one option to track spouse. Well, of course, a person might have multiple spouses over the course of a lifetime. We're going to add a list box on the person form so we can see all of their spouses with the current one up top. You might run into duplicate people, So we're going to add a check for that. If you try to enter someone with the same last name, date of birth, and maybe first initial, it will at least give you a warning and say, hey, this person might already be in there. I know I've accidentally done that when entering in my own information. A person easy setup wizard, where it simply asks the name. All right, now tell me that person's parents. Okay, now enter that person's children. That'll be good for getting started the first time while using the database. A printable family tree, which you can print out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It will look like our form, the printable tree ancestor form, but it will have more information: birth date, death date, locations, and so on. And of course, a complete person history showing all of their parents, grandparents, children, and so on. And of course, a life event timeline. This person born, job, married, death, and so on. And then we'll make a form to search through the life events table. You might want to say, show me everybody born in 1930, or everyone who lived in Buffalo, New York. So those are all upgrades I have planned for part 2. Now, after I posted about the genealogy seminar on my website, some of my users suggested some other options. Importing and exporting GED files, for example. Those are industry standard genealogy files. Tracking genetics information. Calculating the most distant known ancestor and common ancestors. And building a Google-like search form. So all you have to do is type in Joe Smith, and it finds Joe Smith anywhere in the database, at any person level. It might be in a related table, anything. If you want to see these upgrades added to this system, then post something in my forums and let me know about it. The more people that express interest, the more likely I'll be to add these in the future. Let's talk about what you should know before taking this class. You should definitely have taken my beginner series. You should know all the basics of creating tables, forms, and reports. If not, you will be lost. I strongly recommend you also take Access Expert Levels 1 and 2, where I cover relationships. This database is all about relationships. We will be using a unique kind of relationship called a self-join, where we're relating a table to itself, but still, understanding relationships between multiple tables is essential. I also have a relationship seminar, which is very helpful. That's not required, but it is recommended. There will be some Visual Basic in today's seminar, of course. I will show you everything you need step by step to accomplish the goals. However, I do recommend you take my Access Developer 1 course first, at least level 1, to learn the basics of how to put VB in your Access databases. And I will be using some SQL, so my SQL seminar is also recommended. But again, I will show you everything step by step in this seminar. So you don't have to take these other courses, but they will give you a deeper understanding of the material if you really want to understand how I built this database. If you've got questions about the material covered in today's class, please feel free to post them in the Access forum on my website. You will also find student questions and answers about each video if you scroll down to the bottom of the page you're on right now. You'll see previous questions that were asked and the answers to them. Plus, there is a forum where you can post your own questions and comments as well. If you've got questions of a non-technical nature, such as customer service or sales info, please feel free to email me directly. I do prefer technical questions are posted on the website. So let's get ready to learn with the Genealogy Seminar Part 1.